So what exactly is a leader? It's easy to think of like, oh, I want to be the leader of my group, or I want to be the leader of my industry, or, a leader of anything, even a leader of your organization. And the first thing I think a lot of people think of is just like a boss. But a leader really isn't a boss. Anybody could be bossy. Anybody can tell people what to do. You got to do this, 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 and this, and think like, well, just go do it. And now I'm the leader. And that's really not what being a leader is about. So in this video, I just want to give sort of 3 ideas that sort of shape what a leader actually is. Before I do that, I just want to sort of define exactly what I mean by leader in here so that we are on the same page. I'm not talking about really the leader of your company, although you can apply a lot of what we teach here to being the leader of your company. I'm talking more about being the leader of your audience. So you have you as the established expert in your field, which is what we're learning how to do in this mini course, and then your audience, who is sort of following you along on where you are leading them on a journey. They are here, they want to get here, and you are leading them there. So the first thing to remember is that a leader actually leads, and you lead from the front. Just to sort of put that in perspective a little bit, I want to tell you a little story. I used to be a firefighter. So I used to be a volunteer firefighter when I lived in a different town. I'm not a firefighter in this town. And one of the things that I realized was the way that fire departments sort of show leadership. I always came from cop families. My dad was a cop. My brother is a cop. The higher up in the ranks you went as a police officer, the less you did out on the street. Sergeants were out there with their men, and then lieutenants were sort of out there, and then captains were just like behind desks and things like that. In the fire department, it seemed to be the exact opposite. You had sort of the same ladder. You had that was a pun. The regular firefighters and the veterans and those people, and then you had the lieutenant, and then you had the captain. Whenever we would go into a building, whether it was on fire or we were just inspecting it, the captain was the first person in the building. Nobody went in before the captain. The captain led from the front. It really did a lot of things, because going into a building that, whether you see it's on fire or you don't know if it's on fire and where am I going, that can be pretty scary. And on the same token, your audience may be just people who are trying to solve a problem, people who are trying to make a change in their life or their business. It can be kind of a scary process. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're getting into. You don't know if this is going to work. If you have somebody who's sort of leading you from the front, who's going in first, who's saying, hey, I've been here before, I know the way, follow me. That's what I'm trying to do in these mini courses, is lead from the front by showing you I've already been doing video. I already know the steps to take. I already know the ways to brand yourself and to portray yourself and put yourself out there. Just follow my steps. And you could do the same thing. So when we as firefighters would follow the captain in, it was so much more reassuring to us, because we knew here was somebody who has lots of experience. You don't just join the fire department and be the captain on day one. You have to have years and years of experience, and we will follow you. We'll have your back. That was something that I learned from the fire department, and I took that into everything that I do in business. How can you lead from the front? If you've never done what you're teaching before, then you have to find people who have, and maybe show examples of them doing it, so that you can sort of say, hey, here's the path. But for most of us, I think we're teaching things that we know, we're teaching things that we have accomplished or are accomplishing, and maybe you haven't accomplished the full journey, but you can say, hey, I'm a few steps ahead of you. Follow the footsteps that I made, just step where I stepped, or do the way that I did it, or follow this template, or follow this path. It doesn't have to be exact, because obviously different things are going to work for different people, which is why I don't say in these mini courses, make a 3-minute video about this and put that on YouTube and then put that on this. That's not going to work for everybody. There is no one-size-fits-all answer, but it is important to understand that you are the leader of your tribe, your audience, your fandom, whatever it is that you like to call it. And you need to lead from the front. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2 is you need to inspire and educate. Again, going to that boss analogy, it's like a boss might motivate people. If you don't do that, you're fired. You're not really gonna fire people in your audience. What you want to do is sort of coax them to follow you. You want to get them to sort of feel it in their own heart that, hey, I can do this, and I would like to follow you on your path to the way that you're doing it. Now, this is about creating an environment for learning, an environment where people can watch your videos or read your stuff or learn from you or meet you face to face. and sort of get the feeling that, you know what? Maybe this isn't as hard as I thought. Maybe this is something that I actually can do. And when you are able to create that feeling in people, you'll have them locked in your audience and they will follow you as long as you maintain that feeling for them. And number 3, one of the best ways that I've figured out how to do any of this stuff is to humanize yourself. A leader doesn't have to be somebody high up on a pedestal where it's like, I'm up here, I've accomplished all this amazing, wonderful stuff, and you haven't. That doesn't inspire anybody, that doesn't make anybody feel good, and it certainly doesn't make anybody feel like, oh, I could do that too. You want to humanize yourself so that not only are you inspiring them to make them feel like, oh, I can do this too, but by you humanizing yourself, you're lowering the gap between you on the pedestal and them down here in the masses. You're lowering that gap so that they can see, oh, not only can I do what you're doing, but you're not even that much further ahead of me. I can get there. This isn't some impossible task that I thought was just like, I'm never going to be able to do this. I actually can do this. So how do you humanize yourself? You don't have to make yourself seem like a loser. You can share your trials and error. You can share the things that you've done to sort of figure it out along the way, but you don't have to make it seem like you've suffered and struggled and like, oh my God, this is so hard and complicated. It doesn't really have to be that way, but if you let them know that, you know what? I'm just a person. I'm just like you. I've made videos that flopped. I've done things that where I thought this was such a great idea and that didn't really work out. But I have now, through many years of doing this, have figured out, wait, there's sort of a path. I don't think people need to go in that direction like I did, in that direction like I did. I think you could just sort of stick on this path and figure out where on that path you belong. Because the path is probably pretty wide. It's not going to be a narrow path where we all take the same footsteps. It's going to be a pretty wide path. Even though we're all on the same path, somebody over here might look different the way they're doing it from somebody on this side of the path, but we're all really going in the same direction. So you want to sort of create this atmosphere where they feel they can do it, but also that you're not so far ahead of them or so far above them that I don't even know if I want to do that. That's what your job is to become more human for them. That's what your job is to become. That was a horrible sentence. You want to be elevated a bit so that they know that, yeah, I'm ahead of you, but you don't want to be so elevated that you're just at some status that they feel they can never reach.